Hey everybody, welcome back. I don't normally do these political type videos, but I really thought it was important to, especially at this time with a big election coming up, to say a few words about government really in general. I am not certainly an expert in politics. In fact, it's something that I've not really spent a lot of time on over the years. In recent years, I've spent a lot more time on it and following elections, following the news and what's been going on in terms of policy and procedure and what is going on in Washington. This particular election is a very interesting one. And I do have to say I've watched both debates so far. I was really impressed with Sarah Palin on Thursday night. I thought she did a wonderful job. And I expected her to do that kind of a job. From when I first saw her in her acceptance speech, when she was first chosen as the VP, I thought, this is a sharp lady, and she is a sharp lady. I also thought that Joe Biden did a very good job. I don't agree with his positions on things, but I thought that he was fair, especially with Governor Palin. You know, I thought there was a potential there for him to really take advantage of the situation and really try and make her look like a fool. And he didn't do that. I was impressed with that. But one thing that stuck out to me about her and her positions on issues was something that I think is fundamental. And I don't think just fundamental to the Republican Party. I think it's fundamental to what the country, United States, was founded upon. Now again, I said I'm not a big expert on politics, but I do know what this country was founded upon. I do know a lot of the history of what this country was founded upon and how our government is supposed to work and what it was intended for. This is a capitalist nation, at least it's supposed to be a capitalist nation. We've been moving further and further away from that over the last 50, at least over the last 50 years, mostly. And we've been moving more towards socialism. Now, capitalism fits perfectly under the auspices of a country which is a free country. You choose what schools you want to go to. You choose how you want to be educated, by whom you want to be educated. You have your own beliefs that you hold to, and you're free to have your own beliefs. We have the freedom to worship God in this country, at least right now we do, and to worship Him in the way that we see fit. In fact, that was the reason why the Pilgrims first came here in 1640, was to be able to worship freely and not have the state dictate what God they were going to believe in and how they were going to worship Him and how that was all going to play out. Now, the liberal, democratic thinking is really what I have a big problem with. Yes, I have a big problem with Barack Obama, and I'm not going to go into that right now. I think he's very liberal. He's probably one of the most liberal candidates that has ever gotten this close to the presidency. And it's really a struggle between more government or less government. Okay? Now, socialism. And I think, you know, if you look at a guy like Barack Obama, does he want to do good for the country? Yes, I think he does really sincerely want to do good for the country. I don't think there's really a whole lot of evil intentions here. I think with many of our Democratic congressmen and senators, I think that I think most of them sincerely want to do good things for the country. I think that when they do the selfish and corruptible things, a lot of times they don't realize they're doing it. I think they're blinded to a lot of it. I think also that if they're not blinded to it, and they are doing it maliciously, that they're finding many, many ways of justifying it so that it is not something that is evil to them. But in fact it is. A definition of socialism: a theory or system of social organization that advocates the vesting of the ownership and control of the means of production and distribution of capital, of land, etc., in the community as a whole. Sharing of things. Now, there's an old quote, and I forget who said it. The road to destruction is paved with good intentions. I think Barack Obama and many of the people who support him and who are in his party have all the good intentions in the world. They want to help the middle class. I'm part of the middle class. I would love the help. But having the state dictate to me where I can be treated for medical reasons, where I have to have my medical insurance, or telling me that I have to have medical insurance, that is not capitalism. That is not less government. That's saying, you know what, we know what's best for the people as the government, so we're going to do it for them. I just started reading a book. I just started it the other day. It's called Welfare Reformed, A Compassionate Approach. And it's a collection of essays by a number of different men, including R.C. Sproul. He's one of them. And then I just started reading the very first essay, and I want to read you this quote that I read, and it's right in the very first essay. Listen to this. It is conceivable that the modern threat to human society, to put it bluntly, arises less from chaos than from an overabundance of state order, a political superorganization which acts as an institutional buffer to isolate men from one another, depersonalize them, and turn love of neighbor into a welfare machine. The problem can perhaps be clarified in terms of the parable of the Good Samaritan. I think this is a wonderful illustration. Does not the Samaritan's ministry of mercy become inconceivable? Is it not altered in its very substance the moment it is institutionalized? Put into the hands of a Good Samaritan's League, for example, or even into the hands of the state itself? Is it not thereby robbed of its very point? Can the Good Samaritan be envisaged as a welfare officer? The more and more that the state takes over programs, health care, car insurance, education, all these different things, the more and more we become isolated from one another. And I know these things are done from good intentions. But, and this is a perfect example of liberal democratic thinking, I think these are born from short-sighted good intentions. They don't see what they're doing. Socialism leads to communism. I'm not saying that Barack Obama is a communist. I don't think he would ever want to be a communist. But his thinking in government, more government, more government, more government, leads directly to communism. This is what worries me as a voter and as an American. As a Christian, it worries me even more, because the government wants to regulate, and it's already happening, wants to regulate how I share my faith. They want to regulate how the church functions. It's happening. And it may not all happen in my lifetime, but in my children's lifetime it might. My dear friends, if you're a Christian watching this video, don't be silent. The church cannot remain silent about these things. And if you're an unbeliever watching this, and you are a conservative, hold fast to the principles that this country was founded upon. And if you're a liberal watching this, think about where these things lead to. Think about how this mentality of more government and more government, even though it's paved with good intentions, even though there's good things to extend a hand, well, we don't want the government to extend that hand. Extend the hand yourself. Love your neighbor. Christ said it himself. Love your neighbor. You see a need. This is what the Good Samaritan did. He saw a need. He met the need. We can do that as middle-class people even if we're coming down to the brink of financial destruction, if we see a need, we meet that need. I know that's the way we function in our church. And that's Christianity. That's stewardship. And this country is losing that. It has lost that. So when you go to vote in this election, you vote. You remember these things. Remember that what this country was founded upon. And you remember what's at stake. There's a lot more at stake than what meets the eye and what the media is feeding us. We get fed a lot of disinformation. Go back to the basics, the fundamentals of government, the fundamentals of what these things are. Look at history. It tells a lot.